You are back with the Sound of Ideas from 90.3. Moving on now, the annual Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas last week debuted tons of futuristic technology, like a TV that rolls down into a box when you don't use it, and the world's first smart potato. Here to talk about his visit to the biggest tech event of the year is Jared Bendis. He's the creative new media officer at Case Western Reserve University, and he's also our correspondent there because I think you were there under our auspices to test all this stuff and come tell us about it. Good to have you with us.
Good to see you.
By the way, you can follow Jared's journey through the Consumer Electronics Show in video form by going to his Twitter or Instagram feeds. He's at JaredX2, that's Jared X, and the numeral 2. And we'll have a link to that online on our show page, ideastream.org/ideasnow. Basically, you're just going to get a guy who looks like he had like 500 cups of coffee and is geeking out about all the technology.
And I don't drink coffee.
And he doesn't drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
Nor do you drink, and yet you went to an area where you're talking about, oh, here's how you chill your wine in 5 minutes. And here's a device where you can test to see if you've had too much to drink before you get in your car. A throwaway, disposable breathalyzer.
They gave me one.
Yeah, and you don't drink.
No.
But for your friends.
Absolutely.
So what was your overall impression of this year's showcase? I know you look at it in a number of ways. Some people might look at it like it's a big boat show or an auto show, and you're looking at the big, giant, shiny, expensive things. Some people are into it because there's that new cutting-edge technology, and then people like you who are into the cutting edge of the cutting edge of the cutting edge. What did you see? Well,
so the first thing I think was interesting was a lot of people that were coming up to me were like, there's nothing here. They were like, this show sucks. There's nothing here. I'm like, what show are you at? I mean, this is the future. And what's interesting is the rollout time from cutting edge to Best Buy has greatly shrunk down. So if you see it at CES at the Samsung booth, you're going to see it at Best Buy within months.
And it used to be years.
It used to be years. So it used to be like the auto show where you're like, ooh, concept car type thing. But now the rollout has been come so quickly because they're like, well, production, we're going. So for a lot of people, it's not thrilling to go to those booths because, blink and you're there.
Right.
And even for me, I'll go to see the spectacle of these enormous, again, the Central Hall where the big ones are, Panasonic, LG, Samsung. They're huge. And it takes me very little time because you walk through and you're like, oh, there's the future. For me, it's the little stuff. It's the things where you're like, here's some guy who's got this amazing bit of tech who may or may not make it because he may or may not get funding for it, who may or may not be dreaming, it may or may not be real, and what can I touch and see and go, that really is the future.
What's interesting is when you go to a show like that, the show is what your interests are. So if you go and you're really into photography, you're going to see all the innovations related to cameras. Like there was a case that you put on a phone that makes the camera amazing.
And so that's exactly a point as well. So my friends, because I'm posting live, a couple of years ago I did this where I kind of posted them all when I got home, and that wasn't good for anybody. So I'm spending a few hours a night trying to edit these things out and put them online. And people were like, well, it seems that that the big push this year is health tech. And I'm like, no, I'm interested in health tech because, again, as I'm getting older, I'm more fascinated by the idea that I can spend $100 or $200 on something that's going to completely change my life, that's going to alleviate my sinuses or fix my pain or make me sleep better. Those things are life-changing versus, oh, my God, there's Android in the Lamborghini.
Right, and we'll get to that in just a second. But on the category of health, a motion pillow, I saw you do a video on it. It inflates when you snore and kind of jostles your head a little so you stop snoring, and then it has data in there that tells you how you did for the night.
So there's two sides to all of these medical devices. One of them is just the straight data collection. What did you do? And then the other is, can they intervene? Can they help you do? So the motion pillow, which I demoed last year, but it was in beta last year. Now you can buy one. And then, of course, I talk about buying one. They go, wait, don't buy this one because we've got a new one coming out. That's, by the way, that's the worst part about the Consumer Electronics Show.
Yeah.
If it's out, they don't want to talk about it. They want to do the one that's coming out next quarter.
Right, and you want it now.
I want it now. And the pillow is interesting because it's got these little inflatables in it so that if you start to snore, it starts to roll your head to try to stop you from snoring without necessarily waking you up. And that repositioning. There was another one that I saw very similar, which I'm actually even more excited about, which was a pulse ox monitor that you wear while you sleep as a watch. And it'll start to vibrate if your oxygen level drops a certain amount. If it drops an even certain amount more, it'll alert your relatives that you've died basically in your sleep.
So it's apnea. It's basically...
No, if you've got apnea, this is the way of basically being able to alert somebody.
Speaking of watches, there's now a watch that watches what you eat. You can put this thing on. It's a caloric intake reader, and it'll tell you how many calories you just had.
And so when I talked about this, people are like, oh, that doesn't exist. And I actually talked to them, and they're like, oh, no, we're on the next version. Like, we're promoting number 3. Number 2 is out, and it's 89% accurate. And I'm like, how does it know? And apparently it can tell by the way you're processing, which of course they do through your wrist, whatever. It can't tell you what you ate. It can just tell you how much calories has gone through your body. Yeah. That's amazing.
I think it's called Gobi from
Gobi
Healby.
from Healby. Yes, it was a fun name.
And then one other med tech thing, and that is the Omron EKG machine. Now, I've seen things where you test your blood pressure at home, but this is the thing where you put your, I think it's your thumbs on the thing, and through your iPhone, you see your EKG. You can email it to your doc.
So Omron's a great company, and actually, the funny part is if you go to the store right now, if you you go to any of the pharmacies, you'll see Omron is like the blood pressure cuff that you can just buy for your home. They've been doing some cutting edge stuff. So last year they premiered a wrist blood pressure cuff. So it looks like a watch, and it actually will just do your blood pressure when needed. But this one was called the Omron Complete. And the idea was it's a regular blood pressure cuff that you can put on. And also you put your fingers and your thumbs on it. It takes your EKG, saves it as a PDF, and emails it to your doctor. Crazy. So if you've got a heart condition, if you're the kind of person that needs to regularly check your EKG, there it is. And it was like $200. It was affordable.
Yeah, I was going to say, some of this stuff is affordable. Some of it is that, I don't know about that. Maybe you could one day get Alexa in your car, and maybe that'll be very soon. I bet you that's one of those kinds of technologies that's going to be short on the rollout. But you got to sit in a Lamborghini with an Alexa assistant.
Oh, my God. So I'm embarrassed by this story, by the way, because I generally am always anti-car tech because it's so big. And so there's the Lamborghini, and I'm shooting the video sarcastically with the Lamborghini over my shoulder because it's all blocked off. You're not allowed to get in.
You're like, oh, look at the rich people.
And I'm like, and it's not even in the show. They have it like way off to the side to show everybody. So there's Lamborghini, and I'm shooting over their shoulder, and I'm like, here, this Lamborghini is special because it's got Alexa built in. And I can't say anything after the word Lamborghini. I keep stumbling over the word Lamborghini. And this elderly gentleman walks up to me and he goes, I see you have press credentials. If you'd like to come in, you're welcome. And I'm like, what? He's like, you want to sit and get the tour? And I'm like, yeah. So I sat in the Lamborghini for I would say 20 minutes and got the full tour of how it worked. And, it converted me from being snobby about, the Lamborghini side of it to yes, it would be really nice if everything in my car was voice controlled from temperature to, the lights to whatever. But also the idea that the Alexa is compatible with my home so that as I pull into my driveway and I'm close enough to home that I can have it turn on the front lights and things, you sit there going, oh, okay, but Lamborghini did it first.
Right. You could see this in your Chevy Malibu maybe, but
absolutely,
maybe not in your Lamborghini. I mentioned earlier the smart potato. So it wasn't really smart. I mean, it's a bit of a gimmick here, but
it's a huge gimmick.
But the idea and the reason you were interested in it was what?
Well, first of all, there's always the show darlings, and I'm looking for the show darlings. And it's weird because what they promote as the show darlings don't always end up as the show darlings. A couple of years ago, it was the person who had built a cell phone case with a taser built in.
Right.
And that everyone went over in the booth, they turned into nothing. This guy had figured out, like a potato clock, you could, power things off a potato. He built a piece of tech that ran off a potato. Very smart. Let's show low-power devices. He was able to create a Bluetooth device that was able to be powered off a potato. That Bluetooth device then used the neural network built into a potato to answer questions from your iPhone. Basically, it was a random number generator or a very fancy Magic 8-ball. But the point is, he created it, that it was powered off a potato, and it really showed off this guy's engineering skills. And mostly he was there giving out his resume, which is brilliant.
There isn't really a neural network in a potato, is there?
There was some sort of way that he was actually harnessing the energy from the potato that it wasn't giving. It was processing,
but it wasn't giving you real answers.
It wasn't giving you accurate answers. I mean, I'm assuming the potato isn't very smart, but
looking at some of the other stuff, and again, there are dozens and dozens of videos. So if you guys want to geek out on this, go to JaredX2 on Twitter or on Instagram and check out all these videos. The Pix Interactive Backpack, an LED backpack where the display can be customized from your mobile device. What is?
Well, it's kind of funny. So they turned the backpack into a large LED display. There were two versions. There was a children's version where the kids could just basically draw and then upload their images to the back of their backpack. And the adult version, or the non-children's version, had like games and apps on it. So just imagine your backpack having a very large pixelated display. One of my friends posted on Facebook, though, when my kid stops losing their mittens, I'll buy them a $150 backpack. And there is that sense of, oh, true. Yeah, there's the context to it. But I'll be honest with you, when I saw that, I mean, it's hip. It's kind of fun. I mean, when you talk about customization, a couple of years ago, the big thing was putting LED displays in your rearview mirror, so like you could flip somebody off, or you could, say back off, or give them a smiley face. This is the same sort of thing. Customization, it's cute, it's fun, and it wasn't that much more expensive.
One of the things that's cute and fun too is the toy category, the Wow Cube. It's like a Rubik's Cube, but it's way souped up.
So this idea of, the good news this year with CES was that all the tech aimed at children was to say, let's not do screen time. Screen time is such an anti-thing. So everyone was coming up with these kinetic, alternate input, alternate viewing, alternate experience things. And this thing called the Wow Cube, it looked like a 2x2 Rubik's Cube covered with little screens, but it was all based on turning and shaking. It's not out yet. They've got 10 games for it, but it really was about trying to create something that was different, that gave healthy interactive experience without just staring at a screen.
Interesting stuff. Now, there's a category. Last year, we kind of tiptoed around this. There was a category involving sexual health and wellness devices. One of them got an award. It was taken away. Then people complained because that was just being prudish, and so eventually the award was then given back. Now this year you show up, and there is an entire section devoted to sexual health and wellness, and it wasn't just giggling and prurient type of things. Truly sexual health and wellness.
This is the problem, is that you can't get around the fact that when you're dealing with sexual health and wellness, people are going to, giggle and go dirty and smutty and whatever. The reality of it is that these are sexual health and wellness devices. And, yes, it's a euphemism for adult devices. Some of them are sex toys, I can say it that way.
Sure.
But they're smart. And the smartness of them is where it gets interesting. They're interesting because some of them have biofeedback. I mean, there's no difference between having a sexual health and wellness toy that tracks and does biofeedback than the ones I showed that were about meditation and sleep. They're all about making you better. They're a real industry. It's not a dirty industry. There's medical proof behind this industry. And so this year you saw an enormous range of these devices, to the point where at some point I'm like, do I stop talking about these devices? But some of them were really, really smart. I think one of the ones that I think was the most clever but silly, we've all seen the ones like the dispensers for hand sanitizer. You put your hand under it, and
right.
Hand sanitizer comes out. Well, somebody figured out that you could do that with massage oil or personal lubricant, and it's heated. And that makes a lot of sense, but it's not something that people don't want to talk about right away. But now, because of the backlash, you see an entire section of the show dedicated to it.
Let's address, I've got just a minute or so left, but a lot of times problems are solved with technology. One of them is if you have a package that's delivered to your porch, sometimes it isn't on your porch when you get home from work, you talk to this company, the folks from the company Danby, it's something called Parcel Guard. It's a smart mailbox. You put something in there, a box in it, and it goes locked away, and the only way you can open it is you can use your phone and do that kind of thing.
Yeah, so the Danby one, it looks like a regular postal mailbox where, something comes in and doesn't come out, but they had...
We're going to do a whole week of events leading up to it.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Not a problem. They had a camera in it. They had a remote control in it. They had all these things in it where even if like the package was too big and someone was there, they could remotely open it up, put the box in, and close it again.
Right, because there was a slot at the top where you could put something in. But if it's a big package, you could open the door at the bottom. And if the way I do that is I just dial it up on
and
my
I
phone.
actually joked with them. I'm like, well, unless someone steals the whole thing, and they showed me the secret slot on the bottom. They're like, if you open up here, we can put hundreds of pounds in sand and concrete. So no, they can't.
Interesting. Great stuff. And again, you can check that out on Jared's social media channels, Jared, JAREDX2, and spend some time with it. I did that last night, and I went down the rabbit hole.
240 videos. Sorry, folks.
240, yeah. So block out an evening for that. Jared, good to talk with you.
Thanks for having me.
Always fun.